Hi YouTube, my name is Daniel Lawrence with DR Lawrence and Associates. We're owners representatives and construction project management professionals. And today we're going to continue our series on the 5 phases of a project. We're going to do a little bit deeper dive today, specifically into phase 2, which is the planning phase. Now during the planning phase, there's really 4 objectives, if you will, and that's going to be developing our scope, schedule, and budget a little bit more closely so that we're able to get funding approved and we've got a plan set in place, and then we can start procurement activities and develop and move on into the design phase. So the first thing that's really going to happen during the planning phase is putting together the internal project team and holding a kickoff call so that we're all on the same page with what is going to be included in our scope, schedule, and budget. That internal kickoff call is obviously going to include your client. It's going to include the transactions team, whatever broker they're using, whether it's internal or an external broker. It's also going to include anybody that was involved on the client side for the strategy that was involved in that initial phase so that they can help us out with some of the parameters that are going on around leasing and programming as well for those business needs. Oftentimes, clients will also have a workplace planner. The workplace planner is usually very in tune with what some of the design standards may be for these offices to make sure that those things are getting incorporated as well. And the workplace planner may even be involved with developing those test fits and making sure that those are released and approved. We oftentimes see that in lieu of, or sometimes arm in arm with the workplace planner, there may be an architect that's also already involved with the project team that was helping to develop some of these test fits or will help develop some of these test fits. And at this point in the game, since we don't have a current budget that's approved, usually if there is an architect, they are contracted under pre-design services directly with the client to go through this stage in the game. We're also going to have obviously our project manager, our owner's rep, who is the one that will be managing the kickoff call and orchestrating this whole process, because this is where it really starts for the most part for them, as well as our facilities management team, so that they can also be in tune with what's going to be happening and unfolding on the project. A lot of clients will also have internal partners that will be engaged at this point as well. Usually it includes a security team, their IT team, and then, like I said, usually a workplace planner or an architect as well, so that they can give their input when developing these test fits, which is essentially the next step of the process. So again, the internal kickoff call, we're going to be understanding a lot of the programming. We're going to start getting information on what that was developed during the strategy phase, kind of that framework and the idea of what they want to do with the project. And we're going to bring test fits to bear now during the planning phase. So test fits essentially are an overall footprint, if you will, of the space. And it's going to detail things like where furniture is located, what the walls or layout is going to look like, and more general information of that nature. It may have locations for your audio-visual stuff, specialty equipment, where security and access control items may go, what sort of IT integration is going to be there. So all of those things should be able to be on those test fits. And it may take several iterations of the architect coming up with a drawing, also the architect doing a site visit to verify existing conditions, and then putting something down on paper for your client and the partners associated with that to be able to review and approve. And that's going to essentially be the primary driver or document that we use to help define the scope of a project. And there's usually some other documents as well that have that scripted out instead of just solely a test fit document itself. But that's going to be the primary driver and reference tool for the scope of a project. The next thing, once we've got test fits that are approved fully by your client and we can understand what the scope is, we're going to build out a schedule. Because again, depending on what the test fits reveal and what's involved with the scope may affect the scheduled duration. Now, at this point in a project, it's really an estimated schedule because we don't have vendor partners on yet. We may have an understanding of what some long lead items and things are, but a lot of that detail won't be developed really until we get into the next phase, which is the design phase. but we are also going to be putting together a preliminary schedule inclusive of the 5 phases of a project, and then all of the different milestones that are to be tracked as well that the client wants to see in a lot of their reporting. So now that we've got our scope and our schedule that we've got developed, the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that we have a budget put in place. And this budget can happen in a number of different ways. Sometimes you may have a client that has a square footage number for the various items that are incorporated into a construction budget. Sometimes we'll be able to reach out to some of the vendor partners that are there and get some approximations or some ROM pricing for some of it that we can incorporate into our budget. And we're getting all of that solidified and buttoned up. So once we've essentially got our scope, schedule, and budget put together with our test fits, the estimated schedule, and our budget documents, and then any sort of supplementary documents that help support those 3 things, all of those go together in a singular funding package, which is the last thing that happens during the planning phase, is making sure that we've got that funding package put together and it gets put in front of the client for their final review and approval. And then once that funding package is reviewed and it's approved, there may be a couple meetings that happen where some of the senior leadership wants to dive in and get a better understanding of where those dollars are going to be spent, and that approval comes back. Now we have an established funding or budget that we can actually use to start the procurement process and start bringing on some of the other vendor partners that will happen in the design phase. And again, we're going to talk about that design phase in a later video. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. And please check out our website at drlawrenceandassociates.com. We would love to be able to help you with any of the owner's representation or construction projects that your company has. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.